Welcome to the September 13th, 2022, 6:30 p.m. City Council meeting. We do have a quorum, so I'll call this meeting to order. Would you please join me in a moment of silence, and may we keep the victims and first responders of 9/11 in our thoughts and prayers. And the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, is it the truth? There you go. City Clerk, would you please read the rules to speak?
Yes, sir. Individuals wishing to speak on public and non-public hearing agenda items must complete a sign-up card prior to the item being introduced. Those wishing to speak on quasi-judicial public hearings must complete a sign-up card and sign the oath. Sign-up and oath cards are available on the table in the council chamber. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under petitions from the public present. This opportunity is offered twice in the meeting, and individuals may speak at either the first or second petitions, but not both. No sign-up card is required. Citizens shall not comment on any issue more than once during the meeting. All comments except petitions and requests must address the pending issues, and citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak on all items. Citizens wishing to speak on the consent agenda must submit a comment card identifying the items of interest. Speakers shall be given 3 minutes per item. However, citizens wishing to speak on more than 3 consent agenda items shall be limited to speaking for a total of 10 minutes, regardless of the number of items identified. All sign-up cards and exhibits being submitted to the City Council shall be placed in the box on the table in the council chamber.
Thank you very much, City Clerk. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of June 12th, 2022, July 26th, 2022, 6:30 p.m., August 23rd, 2022, 6:30 p.m., and special council meeting, budget workshop on August 12th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Vice Mayor, a second from Member Nelson. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Say no. And the minutes pass. City Manager.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Before we get started with the agenda, staff requests that we move item 8I off of consent and move it to immediately after petitions and requests and before consent.
So moved.
I will take that motion in just 1 second. 8I to, what number would that, it'd still be 8I, but it's going to be moved below 12B?
Sir, what I'd like to do is move it right after petitions and requests, the first number 7.
Okay.
And before we get to consent, that item will now become an agenda item.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. 8I is moved. Okay, City Manager.
On to item 6A, which is the Code Enforcement Special Magistrate semi-annual report as written, and there's no action required on this item.
Council, Vice Mayor, anything? Or is that a previous,
I'm
okay. All right, thank you very much, sir. Move to the next one.
On to item 6B, which is the Historic Preservation Board. Currently, there's one vacancy for a regular member with a term to expire on 31 October 2022. Tony Schifolo, interested resident of the City of Historic Districts, currently serves as an alternate member with a term to expire on 31 October 2023. She has expressed her willingness and desire to serve on this board as a regular member, and if not appointed as a regular member, she would like to continue to serve as an alternate member. Second, Mr. Kirk Davis, local historian and or architectural and or art historian, currently serves as an alternate with a term to expire on 31 October 2022. He has expressed his willingness and desire to serve on this board as a regular member, and if not appointed as a regular member, he would like to continue to serve as an alternate member. Currently, there are no other applications on file for your considerations.
Okay, if council has nothing on this, the next thing we do is we ask the members who are interested to come up and just give us a short little idea of what you're thinking. So take your choice. Whoever wants to come up first, thank you. Hello, Mr. Davis. How are you?
Good evening, Mayor Diesel and council members. I'm here as currently an alternate member of the Titusville Historical Preservation Board, and I was made aware of the openings. And due to my very young tenure as an alternate member, have discussed the position currently open with Tony Schiffelo. And based on her desire to fill in as a regular member, and her tenure is like 3 years as an alternate member. And she and I, we got to know each other, and we talk a lot about historical things and other things involved in the community. And I feel it would be more appropriate at this time that I defer to her to be considered for the full membership on the Historical Preservation Board.
Well, I appreciate that. That's outstanding on your part. The time that I have known you, I'm not surprised by that. You are that guy, and I appreciate that very much. Counsel, anything you want to add to that? Member Robinson?
Yes, I concur, and I know that he's a gentleman and a Coast Guardman on top of that.
I didn't know the Coast Guard.
Yeah, and I know that because that was prayers, I can just say this, prayers are answered, and when men and people of the same mindset, they come up with the same conclusion. And I asked the council to accept his statement.
Recommendation, yes, sir. Mr. Davis, just admirable. That's a good word I can come up with there. Thank you very much, sir.
And I'd like to add just one note.
Absolutely.
This is late in coming, I understand, too, but I found out earlier, and this is, again, from Ms. Schiffelo. There's a documentary that's going to be airing in Melbourne. It's entitled Moving History, and it's a documentary that was put together by Be Unique, which is a magazine, and they also have a on-site presence. The three gentlemen, the three individuals here, black freed slaves by the name of Peter Wright, Balaam Allen, and Wright brothers were the initial inhabitants of what they called at the time Crane Creek, which is now known as Melbourne. And this is a documentary that's going to be shown at the Cinema World, I think it's Cinema World 15 in West Melbourne on this coming Thursday. They're going to have a premiere at 6 p.m. at the theater. And I've run across these names before doing some research. And I think it would be great because Peter Wright was like if not the first mail carrier, but one of the first mail carriers. And he used a sailboat to do it. And he traveled from Titusville to Malabar, delivering the mail back in the day. So I would encourage the council, mayor, attendees here to take a look at it. You may have to go online to get the exact information about the theater itself, but they call itself CW15.
And that's this Thursday.
This Thursday, the 15th, at 6 p.m. at the theater.
I'll work on it. I have a granddaughter who's participating in a basketball event, and I better not miss that either, but it's possible.
And I want to mention, too, it's been presented by the Greater Mount Allen Foundation, which is a black church in the Melbourne vicinity.
Perfect. Thank you very much. You proud to say you are the right guy at the right place at the right time. Thank you. Ms. Schiffelo. Now, don't come up here and deny the nomination.
Tony Schiffelo, the historic Norwood House. You know I never miss an opportunity to blow a horn, and this time I'm going to blow mine. I want to thank my newfound historian friend, Mr. Kirk. We've known each other for several years in the community, but the community work not so much the Historic Preservation Board, but I'm really glad to see him there. And I just wanted to point out that in the 34 monthly meetings that the Historic Preservation Board has had since I was appointed in November of 2019, I've only missed 3, and I got to sit in as a voting member more times than at the table. And due to the largesse of, and the work of this board and the chairman of the Historic Preservation Board, my opinions, my comments, I was always allowed to participate, as is Mr. Kirk. The alternates are honored on that board, and I just want to give praise to the leadership of the Historic Preservation Board. And I just want to say that I would really like for you to appoint me now to this position that's going to end at the end of October, and then I want you to appoint me to the full-time position for another year, because I already have the badge, and it'll save you some expense. And also, I seriously want to work and shepherd the Historic Preservation Board on the project in the West Titusville neighborhood to get that neighborhood district overlay. If we can work on that project, it's been ongoing for a couple of years. And I just want to remind everybody, the historic Norwood House is on our award-winning tour.
That's right.
That
Very
I
good.
worked on with the Historic Preservation Board. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Very well done. Thank you. Are you getting ready to do a motion?
No, I was going to say
Cards first.
something.
Well, normally when I see you, it's a motion.
I know, it'll be
Vice
a
Mayor.
motion too. It's kind of interesting, Ms. Sheffalo. I'm looking at your application, and most people don't see this, but it's kind of interesting that you've been a professional entertainer and a musician and a juggler for 47 years.
Absolutely.
And now I understand. Yes, I know. But she also is she worked for CNN in Atlanta as a research librarian and in the newsroom for 20 years. So very impressive for sure. So with that,
I got to call cards.
Cards,
please.
No cards.
there you go.
All right, there we go. Vice Mayor.
All right, I nominate Ms. Tony. It says Tammy. Is it Tammy? It's Tony? Okay, Tony. I'm sorry. Wrong thing there. Tony Sheffalo to the permanent position.
Second.
I have a motion from Vice Mayor, a second from Member Nelson. Roll call vote.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Thank you both. That was impressive. Thank you very much. City Manager.
On to item 6C, which is the North Brevard County Hospital District Board Semi-Annual Report. And I believe Mr. Retz will be the presenter. Welcome, Stan.
Do you juggle? You can say again? No. Numbers, yes, you do.
All right. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Diesel and members of council. I'm Stan Retz, the Vice Chairman of the Parish Medical Center Board of Directors. It's truly my honor to present the Parish Medical Center's semi-annual report. A written report has been provided that summarizes the activities and outcomes achieved by Parish since our last report, as well as a PowerPoint currently. I'm going to briefly highlight what was reported in the written report. Transparency in healthcare is something we all value. Transparent healthcare information is useful for patients, consumers, employers, health plans, healthcare professionals, as well as policymakers. Transparency helps us make informed choices when selecting a health plan, a hospital, clinical practice, or choosing among alternative treatments. Transparency improves quality, safety, efficiency within the healthcare systems. Our demonstration of exceptional transparency earned Parish Healthcare the global distinction of a high reliability champion earlier this year. We were one of 5 hospitals and health systems recognized by the Patient Safety Movement Foundation for demonstrating exceptional transparency around patient safety data. This recognition was announced at the 2022 World Patient Safety Science and Technology Summit. Additionally, according to the most recent report from the Florida Center for Health Information and Transparency, Parish provides high-quality health care at the lowest costs and lower lengths of stay. The report validates that we are a high-value provider of health care. On the screen are just a few of the highlights from that report. As to cost of care, when it comes to diabetes, PMC is 36% lower than the state average. We are 43% lower than the state average for heart failure. Childbirth, Parish is 38% lower than the state average. When it comes to cancer, Parish is 35% lower than the state average. And in orthopedics, we are 44% lower than the state average. Readmission rates, which refer to when someone is hospitalized within 30 days of when they were discharged from previous admission. When it comes to heart failure, PMC has 50% lower readmissions than the state average and 33% lower than the state average for pneumonia. You can find a complete report online at the floridahealthfinder.gov. Not only is Parish a high-value healthcare provider, but the care teams at Parish are continually advancing medical treatments, and earning recognition for achieving the highest standards of excellence. Earlier this year, Parish was recognized as a global leader in laboratory standards of excellence by the College of American Pathologists. This group is the world's largest organization of board-certified pathologists and the leading provider of laboratory accreditation. Here's a quote from the chairperson of the accreditation, Dr. Richard Scanlon. Quote, "Parish Medical Center's laboratory demonstrates leadership, innovation, and a passionate commitment to standards of excellence while providing the highest quality services, ultimately for patients." Parish is also the first provider in Florida to offer Inspire therapy, which is a breakthrough therapy treatment for sleep apnea. It's a small device implanted under the collarbone, similar to a pacemaker. No more masks, no more hoses. It's providing a life-changing alternative for those suffering from sleep apnea. Another innovation being advanced by Parish is how we are addressing the needs for people suffering from substance abuse and addiction through our Peer Recovery Specialist program. In collaboration with Circles of Care, a peer recovery specialist is available through our ER for anyone who needs and wants help to overcome their addiction. Peer recovery specialists are often people who have been successful in their own recovery process themselves and are specially trained to help others experiencing similar situations. It is a program that is truly making a positive difference for our community. Also making a positive difference are the new providers we have recruited and welcomed to our community. Since our last report, we have welcomed an additional 10 providers to the medical staff. Their medical specialties include gastroenterology, nephrology, critical care, cardiology, and OBGYN. Most recently, we welcomed General Surgeon Dr. Alfonso Pecoraro, I practiced that too, Pecoraro, and internationally recognized oncologist Dr. Robert Oldham. This concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any easy questions. If there's any hard questions, I got backup, so.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, and I just would be remiss if I just said thanks, see you later. You just noted at the end here, Stan, you said it correctly, a positive difference in our community. You guys aren't just a superb healthcare provider, you're a rock in our city and all of North Brevard. You're a hand to help us up when we fall, and in COVID times, and you still got the testing available to us out there. In COVID times, I couldn't help but call you, your team, your staff, our heroes. And you still are. And you have the best Christmas fireworks in the entire dadgum nation. So with that, I feel like there's an awful lot that could be said. I couldn't be happier to have Parish Medical Center in our city. And it's just not another hospital. I have in the past gone through how my grandkids grew up there going to breakfast with Santa Saturday morning before the Christmas parade goes down. The fireworks, the Christmas programs. Those aren't things that hospitals have to do. Those are things you do when you're a owner and not somebody who's just there to provide service. And I'm actually more on too, just to provide service, but to provide service. This hospital is truly a family member. And I can't thank you guys enough for that. And I see people nodding yes to that. I'm not just the only one saying that. You guys are a family member, and a family member we can't live without. With that, Member Stokel.
Yep. I just want to say I always appreciate your guys' reports whenever we see them on the agenda, because I always look to see something new, and I feel like every time there's a report, there's something new you guys are doing. And I feel like you guys are really in tune with the community and are constantly assessing where can we improve and what does the community need. So it's really cool to see the innovation and then the peer specialists and trying to reach a community that needs help and just seeing how you can go that extra mile. So thank you, and I appreciate you guys.
Member Nelson.
And can I say thank you for going the extra mile, helping us, providing parks for our kids, providing a place for our kids to swim. I mean, you guys really do go that extra mile.
And there's literally
appreciate it.
hundreds and hundreds of care partners at the hospital from the top to the bottom
Yeah.
that are all committed for the same goal.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Member Nelson, because there's so many things out there, whether it be tickets to the theater for people who normally couldn't go to the theater. And quite honestly, I was just there Sunday, and that came up from the stage, how many people were there that couldn't have been there if it wasn't for you guys. And I won't go into them because I could end up getting some wrong, but I've seen where you provided a track for an elementary school and the things you're speaking to. So we can go on and on. You're not just a care provider. You are a family member. And you always have that handout when somebody needs to come up. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Member Robinson.
Yeah, I guess I have to tell you, I want to thank Parish. I know that most of you know me by the work that I've done with the economically disadvantaged population of our area. And I like some of the things and that Parish is bringing on board to make sure that those individuals with need and don't have the financial support, financial means to take care of themselves. And I've met with one of the head that you brought on out of Daytona, and we sat down and talked about some of the things and the population, the homeless population, and the people that he wants to serve and make sure that they get the best medical care as they possibly can. And I want to personally, because that is a part of my heart, and I want to thank you for that.
Vice Mayor Jordan.
Yeah. I had this pressure that I was getting from the mayor. He said, you gotta say something. And in actuality, I mean, we have a representative. He's my vice chairman, and he does a fabulous job. And all the board members, what I really like about him is the fact that they're very dedicated to doing the right thing for the community. And you all are echoing what we want to hear. We want that reflection of knowing that we're part of the community, that we're doing the right things for the community. And it's more than just administering pills and health care. It has to be about relationships. But you got to understand that none of this stuff is easy. It is very difficult. We may make it look easy, but it's not easy at all. And we have pressures just like any other industry, especially with getting the resources we need to continue what we're doing. But with the help of this community and the help of the executive committee that we have at Parish Medical Center, we're going to continue to be the best of the best. And so my hat is off to every care partner that we have at Parish Medical Center and the board of directors. So thank you, Stan.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you. I think that we've all had our say, and thank you for being a part of our family. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for the time. And again, it's hundreds and hundreds of people that are doing it every day. I'm just a lucky guy that gets to get up here and
Well, I appreciate your
present it
report.
and,
I do. I appreciate your report, and well done and well presented.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a
This
good
is
night.
just for the record, this is a no action required. Thank you very
Hey,
much.
Stan, before you leave, would you give me your winning stick?
Thank you, guys. City Manager.
On to item 6D, which is the Titusville Environmental Commission recommendation for acceptable ground cover. At the 10 August 2022 regular Titusville Environmental Commission meeting, the commission recommended to the City Council that the city only allow the grasses listed on the Florida Native Plant Society list and the other native ground covers to be used in all new development. The use of St. Augustine grass should be prohibited in the city of Titusville and should be replaced with Baha'i grass and other grasses on the
Baha'i.
Aye.
Bahia. Bahia.
Mr. Parish is here to answer any questions that you may have, and what staff is asking council to do is to consider the recommendation and provide direction to us.
Mr. Parrish, you have anything you want to add to that intro?
No, sir, I'm just here to answer any questions.
I generally go, my MO is to go around and have everybody speak and not try to take over what I think. But in this one, I kind of want to throw it out there first. And I have some concerns. One of the things I've said on other issues is I don't like to make a rule I can't enforce. I feel it would be very, very difficult to enforce who's got what kind of grass where. That concerns me. I also have, from day one, been concerned about overreach. And I'm not so sure that I want to be involved in telling people what kind of grass they can have. I totally understand St. Augustine needs way too much water. And I totally wish people would back away from St. Augustine. I have. I used to have St. Augustine. There was a lot of water. So I totally get it. I'm not opposed to that thought. But I would much rather get into an incentivization, is that a word? Mm-hmm. Incentivize, that's better, rather than mandate. But so I'm not a big proponent of telling people whatever it is. Don't want to tell them what color to paint their house. I don't want to tell them that they have to use solar panels. And I know that's a wonderful thing. But the point I'm making is all these wonderful things, you start mandating those. Now you've got to try to enforce them. If you can't enforce them, you've blown it. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with this. When I first heard about it, the first thing I said was no. Because it, government shouldn't be here to try to cause people to feel bad about things that they want. This is a free country. I agree. I like St. Augustine better than Bahia, but I like Bahia when it comes down to having to worry about whether it's going to grow or not. Because Bahia, it's called a pasture grass for a reason. Because the sun, anything gets to it, it'll grow again. It just doesn't spread. So once it dies, you got a hole there, and you're going to have to plant again. St. Augustine, of course, is like a crabgrass. I hate to say it like that, but it actually crawls, and it will close a hole up. And St. Augustine looks better than that. But I just don't think we need to be getting involved in something like this at this point. And I'm just with the mayor that it is an overreach in my opinion. It's unnecessary, and to me, we can always decide that we want to go against something because it might sound good and we might save something, but in my opinion, there's a few things that make us happy in our lives. If you're in an HOA and the HOA says, well, you can't have this anymore, then let the HOA take care of it. But when you're in a subdivision like mine, where I don't like HOAs, to be honest with you, because I don't like people telling me what to do with my property. And this is what we're trying to do, is tell somebody what to do with their property. And I just couldn't handle that. So I'm not looking for advisability. My advisability is leave well enough alone.
Member Robinson.
And I thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've stated this before, and HOA is in control of that, and it's a lot more things that are hazardous for our health, more so than the type of grass that we're growing in our yard, as long as it's legal and not smokable.
I'm glad you said
what are you
that,
talking
about?
So with that, I think that we need to, I think that if it wants to, that the TEC want to encourage that and just tell all their friends that, let's do what we can to make our environment better. That's a good thing, but the mandating it from this particular seat is not appropriate.
Yeah, and then again, let me just reiterate the same thing you said. I think that's all been said here, is that there's no question that St. Augustine takes too much water. No question. But again, I don't want to, I won't get into what I said it about, but we had a discussion once before. I didn't want to turn my police into mask police. So I'm just get down to it. I feel the same way here. I don't want anybody driving up and down the street, and I don't want anybody checking the contractors, or I don't want to get into that. And again, I think there's an overreach there somewhere. And I will say too, because I've kind of seen it, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law live in a HOA area in Brandon. Very nice area. But boy, if that grass turns brown in any spot, they will spray paint a circle around it and give you a note. You've got 3 days to get it right. I don't like that. Member Nelson?
Okay. So I have a different opinion than you guys. And I think part of it is because
You
I'm
live in a
looking at.
condo.
No.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I don't get any choice. I don't get any choice as my grass. But looking at what's happening out west, I'm like, okay, smart Alex. Okay, can we be? Totally got me off. If I turn, he's gonna have to turn around. Can we be a little conservative and maybe look at either incentivizing Bahia and saying, okay, you're going to get, I don't know what, if you plant Bahia, which is going to use less water, or maybe you get an incentive if you use some of the grasses and cut down on the amount of lawn you have. Because some of those grasses are very pretty. What?
Well, I'm not disagreeing. I think I said that I wish that more people would not use St. Augustine. I just don't think I'm the guy to mandate it.
Oh, that's
And
fine.
I also use the term incentivize.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that would be, but I just won't get from me is that I'm going to tell them what kind of grass they have to have. And that's part one. Part two is I don't want to be the city that has to try to figure out and investigate who's got St. Augustine and who doesn't.
No, but we're talking about people coming in and developing property, and maybe they get an incentive by putting Bahia in as opposed to St. Augustine. Maybe they get an incentive if they start using some of these grasses in the landscape area and increasing that landscape area. I had the grass, I don't remember what it's called, and it has the red tips to it.
We
No. No.
That's what you get in a condo.
But it was beautiful.
Yeah, I know you're
I
talking
had a
about.
couple of weeds too. You know what I'm talking about?
I do
It's
know, I don't
weed,
know the name
yes.
of it, but I do know what you're talking about. But again, for the record, I got away from St. Augustine simply because it was too much water. And if you didn't give it enough water,
Yeah.
it started dying. So I agree. I think it takes too much water. In my personal life, I moved away from it, but I don't want to tell other people what they need to do with that. Member Stokel.
Yes. Do we have an issue with water supply? I
No, we don't have any concurrency issues with water.
okay. That's kind of I just don't. I'm kind of with Vice Mayor. Like I just don't see the point of going down. Yes, if we were in like California or somewhere that we needed water and weren't able to access it, okay, maybe potentially look at this. But I just have a hard time. Plus, and you incentivize somebody does it and then they don't like it, they think it's ugly, and then they
Take it
change
out.
it. What
They take it
happens?
out.
Take it out.
Like, I think it's just a lot of overreach, in my opinion.
Overreach and difficult to enforce. And also, in my time here, and I think everybody's time here, we've had droughts where we've gone into where you know, depending on the even or odd days, when you can water, when you can't, and it could easily get to the point where you can't water. I mean, that if it gets to that, so it's not so much about what grass you have. If we say, look, if we got a water issue here, jump on board, and then you better send some people around and enforce that. You know, and I think that when that happens, they do. Member Nelson again.
And I'm just going to say, California probably didn't think they were going to run short of water either.
California, never
That's a
mind.
different country.
Yeah, I was going to say, California didn't think about a lot of things. I think I can say that
Right,
here.
come on.
So,
Right.
Vice Mayor Jordan, are you?
Yeah, I'm probably, I think I've said enough to it, but I just think we're done with this because
You
to me,
talked
it's
about my
unnecessary, to tell you the
weeds.
truth. So we don't need any more regulations. We don't need any more ordinance. In my opinion, if we start something new, then we need to take away something. That has
Well-
always been my opinion. So leave the grass alone. You
Tell
know?
me how you enforce it, too.
Yeah, how do you enforce it? Yeah.
Can we put some, would you guys have a problem with this? No, wait a minute. Would you have a problem with us saying we would encourage people to use BHA?
Oh, I'm all for the encourage part. I mean, sure, I don't have any problem with encouraging people to do anything, but at the same time, because I mean, I agree. And I live the life. St. Augustine
Yeah.
takes too much water. If you don't want to put that much water on it, you're going to lose it. But even, I don't mind saying encourage, but I really feel like people ought to make their own decision on their grass without my
Right.
help.
Exactly. Mr. Mayor, I got you actually made a good point when you said about Bahia. Why don't you encourage people just to put rock garden down or just have shrubs?
That's what they do in
And
Las
people
Vegas.
are doing it, yeah. So, as I said, I think we should just leave this alone.
Call the cards, please.
Stan Johnston,
Stan Johnston. I've lived here about over 50 years, and I want to say is that someone mentioned here something I complete disagreement with, and big time. Someone mentioned here, and that said that they really don't have a trouble with water here. That was our city manager. And I've got to say, you have got to be kidding. What planet is he on? What planet could our city manager be on when he says something like that? I mean, you're talking about, in other words, we're talking about different days in which you can put water on. We've had all kinds of disputes about whether who's going to get recycled water. We have big disputes with the great outdoors about recycled water, big time. What is it? I don't know. Was it millions of dollars? And we've had close to moratoriums and so forth like that. Now we got a project of what is it? Comes up to $13.5 million regarding our recycled water. I mean, we're not like California, but we do have a big problem with water, and that's what the TEC is talking about. So I would like you to somehow, also, Mr. Joe Rich, is that this is an important issue of what's happening with our water, and that it is a very precious supply. And we talk about the water going to the river and the water being a pollutant also, and it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. And some people are it costs a lot of money right now to operate a house and furnish it with water. People are cutting back on their water because it's not cheap. This is a big deal, our water. And I don't know if y'all can do what you can do to educate our city manager, because he certainly does not know what he's talking about. This is a big deal, not just California, but here's in Florida. It's not a sustainable resource. There's a limit to it. Right now is that when I came here to Titusville, I was told that we got a sustainable water supply. We've got right here in the city of Titusville, our superficial aquifer. We can take care of over with our current plant back in 1970, we can take care of 7 million gallons a day. Well, it's been diminished. Our well fields they don't do that anymore. They just don't do it. We've been destroying our well fields for I don't know how long. As long as we can, and we've been ignoring the mismanagement of our well fields. It's a big deal. Our city manager does not know what he's talking about. Absolutely no idea. So I'm asking y'all to give some consideration to this issue. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yep, please.
we do not have a concurrency issue with water in our city.
Bull crap.
Thank you. Thank you. That's, next card, please.
Tony Schifolo,
Tony Schiffolo, 715 Tropic Street. I wanted to bring into the public realm the fact that the TEC, the Titusville Environmental Commission, is looking at a variety of various lists of acceptable plants, trees, shrubs, ground covers. This is one item out of a whole list of things that is going to be presented. Am I too far out of line, Mr. Parish?
There were several items that the TEC want to recommend to you, but we are still working with them on clarifying what those are.
Right, because of the oncoming crisis that the whole world is facing about water. We may not have a particular problem right now. However, we know that, 5 years ago, we didn't have dying manatees in the Indian River Lagoon, and that's a problem now. What the TEC is trying to do is to be a little proactive, and we're not asking you to dictate to people what they can put on their ground, but in new developments, you know that there's lists of acceptable trees by city code and ordinance, and shrubs and plants and ground cover. They're just asking you to really incentivize the use of less water-intensive plants. That was kind of the thing we wanted to do about the trees with the Titusville tree team. And I would encourage you to not just dismiss it out of hand. And I want to vent a little bit. Don't talk to me about private property rights. When I moved to this town and wanted to put a shed on my empty lot adjacent to my 715 Tropic Street, Brad told me I couldn't do that. I wanted a place to put my juggling props and to practice my juggling. I can't do that. Now, that's private property. And he's telling me, oh, it's not, Brad, excuse me, it's not the city of Titusville, it's the state, right? So there I am venting about private property. But I would like to encourage us to have, as new developments are coming and as people are going to be reworking, that we have suggestions. It's a matter of education also about, simple things like not spraying herbicides. I was driving down the road today and I saw a fellow with an orange vest, probably Public Works or someone, with a spray thing right into the downspout what do you call it in the curb where the stormwater runs in, spraying the herbicide to kill the plants around it. Education is a big thing we need to do, not dictate, educate.
And actually, I think that's well said. That's kind of where I was, and I use the word incentivize in my opening, and educate people, incentivize people, encourage people. But I can't mandate, not only because I don't like to mandate for people, but I also don't like to try to enforce things that I know I can't. I said this before, as a longtime educator, the worst thing you can do in your classroom is make a rule you can't enforce, because then you've lost it. So that, I just don't think we can enforce it, for one thing. And then again, I'm not a big mandator. Any other cards, please? All right, so I see no other people here. Vice Mayor? Vice Mayor, you want to make a motion or anything like that? Recommendation unacceptable? I don't know. Every time I meet.
What I heard is we're not moving forward.
I like it when you say I heard, then I was here, we got to vote. City Attorney, are you telling me straight up here, we good? Because you're the guy that likes me to vote.
Only need a motion if you want to make a motion.
Oh, well, good enough. I like that. Can we do that the rest of the meeting? All right, moving along. I think what you hear clearly is we're not for mandating something we don't feel like we can enforce. If there's a way to incentivize, I'd like to hear it. That's pretty much what we've done with the low impact development and even some in the tree ordinance. I think, and I appreciated the tree team being part of that, saying that, look, let's not try to enforce all of this in one gulp. Let's try to incentivize. So I'm for recommending, incentivizing. I said it very clearly. I agree St. Augustine grass takes too much water, but I'm not going to tell somebody they can't do that. It's almost like saying you can only have a certain size pool because it takes too much water. So, you got to be really careful about how you're going to start dictating what people can do with their lives based on the water. That doesn't mean I'm not concerned about water down the road, because every time I turn the TV on, some lake's going dry somewhere. And most of it's out west, but there's no rule that says it can't stop raining here. Maybe, I don't know, it's been a long time since that happened, but anyway. All right, so we move forward, City Manager. Oh, that's where we're at. I don't like that one. All right, here we go. Petitions and requests from the public. All right.
Stan Johnston, Chairman, West Virginia Day, Fox Lake Park. Going to have it again this year, September 25th. This year, 12:30. Begin 12:30. Please bring your lawn chair. It'd be nice. It'd be more comfortable, and we'll have free hot dogs while they last. And Oldest West Virginia. I know that my aunt's going to be there. She's 96 years young. And we're going to have recognition of counties and maybe a pie eating contest. We will have an egg toss and things like that.
Stan, I know they used to have that. Did they stop for a while?
We have. We stopped for maybe 10 years or so. But
I
was chairman, co-chairman for maybe 16 years. So it's familiar with me.
I actually used to work that. Then we'll leave it. Then we'll go and talk later about that.
So that's one event. Now, I'm concerned about what's happening with the TEC. I mean, we just had an item of TEC now. The TEC asked you guys to do some things. They asked you guys to consider about what was going on when we had that sewage spill about fencing and so forth, the ponds. And it was to come before the city. And guess what happened? Nothing. Now, the city TEC just recently sent some information for you guys for consideration and to act upon. And I was with the expectation it was going to be on this agenda. And there is nothing. Nothing at all, and it has to do with one of the things they were asking for is your testing of water. And we discussed at the last council meeting the testing of water, and we talked about we didn't talk a thing about in other words, we had a discussion of our famous. Director of Water Resources came up and gave a dissertation about what was going on with the PFAS in our water, and he forgot to mention what was on emails, what was on my sign, and so forth, and in fact, it never got discussed. About 176 parts per trillion tested in the city water per a national article, in the national newspaper known as The Guardian. Guess what? Nothing. Mentioned nothing. Guess what was mentioned in our city council discussion? Nothing. So we're asking again, so TEC's asking you to do something about it. And what do? Nothing. Thank you.
Anybody else for petitions or requests? City Manager.
Okay, we, as the change of the agenda, we are now on agenda number 8I.
Correct.
Which is the work order for consultant to review conditional use permit number 2-2022 for Independence Recycling, and the RFP number is 22P052LR. And the proposed scope of work from Barnes and Furlan Incorporated is for, I believe, the five tasks that are in there. The city's continuing contract with Barnes, Furlan, and Associates for environmental is to conduct hydrology and stormwater analysis as needed. The consultant submitted a scope of cost for services in the amount of $40,496. The consultant has indicated that the analysis can be conducted within 45 days. The consultant also wants to allow time for broad research on these facilities that contribute to the new emerging contaminants. Mr. Parish is here to answer any questions that you may have on this item.
Since we received this, we have spoken with Mr. Ferland. He was not able to be here this evening to answer any questions related to this, but he has indicated to us that this, if necessary, could be broken up into different tasks, into smaller chunks, if you so desire. I'll try to answer any questions you have.
Well, let me just have to throw a couple of things out. I'm not going to get in front here. I want to hear from the council, but the cost, what will the cost be to have him come as an expert with his team?
$40,496.
Say that again?
40,000.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I had it right. I thought for a second he said 4,000. So, oh, that came down. So technically, we did not find an echo. I won't say we didn't find. We advertised, and no one accepted our advertisement.
That's correct.
So when we had the meeting and came out and said we want to have an expert of our own, thinking we could advertise and get one, that didn't happen.
That's correct.
So the best we can do is go with a guy who's contracted with us to deal with other issues, including water, I believe. And he is an expert in some areas, but not an expert overall for what we're trying to maintain.
He's assembled a team.
Okay, and that's where some of the cost is coming from, I'm assuming. So if we had just had an expert come along and say, hey, I can do this, we probably wouldn't have spent as much money as we're getting ready to spend if we do this.
Not sure, because we did get a responses from the RFP.
Good answer. Good answer. I'll leave it at that. I have some more things I'll add to where I'm sitting on this right now, but before I go forward, I'll move to the council, Vice Mayor.
All right, I'm not for this at all. Actually, I've given a lot of thought to what we did, the process we used when we heard this. And I think one of the things we had forgotten, we had some consternation about exactly what's going to happen, whether there's going to be any danger to our citizens. But in fact, we've got basically the state government and maybe even the federal government, I guess it's more state government as far as regulation is concerned, the applications that they have to put in order to do this, correct?
As far as we understand, primarily it's through the state. So there's an air permit they have to get with DEP, and then there's also stormwater requirements with St. John's Water Management District.
So, you know, we have a state organization that is basically going to regulate a lot of this stuff. Plus, we already do this at Mockingbird, and it's a portable unit. So, and they brought expert witnesses. We basically just said, well, we want our own expert witnesses, but they were expert witnesses. And so I basically would challenge the council to really think about what we're trying to do here. We basically, even though we didn't say it, we were looking for someone to tell us something different than what we heard. But in fact, we may pay $40,000 and hear the same thing that we've already heard.
I would disagree, though. I'm going to interject there because I was looking for somebody to say what we did here. I wanted somebody to reiterate that what he said is accurate, we're good to go, and just, you know, give me that little more sense of feeling. I will say that I'll add a couple things here. We took this to the, speaking of the TEC and what we think of the TEC, we thought enough of them to defer this to the TEC the first time.
Right.
Which I thought was due diligence, and they came back and approved it.
Exactly.
With some term. There we go.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to help me out there.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to help you.
So they approved it. P&Z approved it.
Right.
We didn't find an expert that we were looking for. I too, and this is where I talked to you earlier about saying something you had said earlier. We got places we can go to watch them. We can go see how they work. This particular company has a perfect record from what I gather. I'd want to reiterate that, but I've been to the place where they're going to set this up. It looks as safe as it can be. It's pretty isolated. It's next to, City Manager, I know you know it's next to what?
It's called a borrow pit.
It's next to a borrow pit, which tells you it's out there. I feel very much better. Don't misunderstand me. I think if you paid attention to what this council was doing, we were very safe. We were very, I don't use the word concerned, but it was definitely different than anything I've dealt with before. And I think that I think the fact that we don't have an expert who bid on or took on our ad, I don't necessarily feel that, getting a team together is the same as having somebody step up. And as I said, Vice Mayor, what I was looking for was somebody to step up and simply say that everything this guy says, that's right. It's absolutely safe. We're good to go. Because I sure didn't want somebody to come up and say it's not safe, because then we got a whole nother problem. And I don't think that it was going to be that way. I think he was going to say what we had already heard.
Well,
That being said,
I was still talking and you just
Vice Mayor, continue.
I just think the challenge, and just specifically talking about the guy who is assembling a team, I of course have a little consternation about that because he's never had that team together. So he's basically coming up with a company, if you will, for lack of a better word, or a team group of people to say, okay, you work on this, this, and this, and I'm going to assemble the report and get it back to you. And that can get very expensive because what he is doing, it may be a small amount, but all the other people that he's bringing together is what's going to count. And I think we're going to give him, how long were we going to give him to?
45 days.
45 days. So.
More time.
Yeah, just more time. And understand this is a company who is trying to open up a business, and we're just prolonging the process. When, in fact, as I said, I'm just feeling better knowing that they still have to go through the state government to make, and they're regulated with that. So I think they're going to be pretty safe with that. I appreciate what the council was trying to do, but I just don't think we can approve $40,000 to get a report, in my opinion.
Member Robinson.
Yes, it was, my objective was to, when on my decision was to make sure that I had as much knowledge about the process as I possibly could. My statement tonight is that one of our responsibilities here as a council is to do the best of our ability to ensure that the taxpayers' money are spent appropriately. And with finding out that we have advertised and no takers, finding out that a little bit more that the state regulates and are going to, this company will be responsible to the state and must adhere to all of the requirements. Finding out more about the water process and keeping the dust contained, and also the location, as I stated months ago, that it was protected on one side and the other side, and looking at the distance between where this process is going to be located versus across the track, across the highway, from the residents that are on the east side of US 1. Taking all of that into consideration and doing the best that we can, and also agreeing with the Vice Mayor that I had watched this process, the growler, I called it personally, eat the concrete out at Markenberg. I called it Hummingbird in a conversation, but Markenberg. I just think that my thoughts is that with the $40,000 of the taxpayer money can be spent more wisely than moving forward with this.
Thank you very much. Member Robinson, Member Nelson.
Okay. My whole concern when we were listening to their expert was he had put in his report that there would be pollutants that would enter into the groundwater. And that's in his report. And so when I started questioning about it and saying, what is the impact? And he didn't use the word pollutants. I think he said contaminants. What is the impact on our groundwater? And I couldn't get a straight answer out of him. And I think I asked him 2 or 3 different ways. What are the impacts on the groundwater? Never did get an answer. So that was my concern. I don't know if he didn't know the answer, or maybe he didn't understand the question, but I could never get him there. So to me, when I'm sitting here talking about, I don't care who gives me the answer, but what are the impacts on the groundwater? That's my whole question. And I don't know if you guys heard it, but it is in his report, and no answer.
Brad, can you comment on that?
So you had requested that the consultant do a hydrology analysis, which we have a consultant that has proposed a scope to partly do that for you.
Right.
Since the publication of this agenda, we've been back and forth with the consultant, and he has offered to split this into different parts. So if that is the focus, maybe that's the direction you go with Mr.
That's my focus. I mean, you know,
Just so you know, though, the time frame that he's given to us, even just for that portion of this entire scope, is the same amount of time.
okay. But hopefully the cost would be less.
He's estimated to us about $16,000, but that's just for the hydrology portion. Then we also looked at the stormwater portion, and it's probably estimated about $5,000. So you're looking at about half the cost you're seeing here quoted tonight.
Okay. I just think before we turn around, and to be honest with you, maybe their expert knows the answer and maybe he just didn't articulate it. I don't know. But that was my whole hang up. You know, if it's going to impact our water, we need to know. So, and I understand it, it's expensive. I don't like the idea of spending money, especially as tight as our budget is. But on the other hand, I also don't want to find an answer I don't like 2-3 years from now.
Have they ever, have they had, and I don't want to get into a whole understanding of this because this is what we already talked about and we'll talk about again if we need to, but has there been any groundwater issue with anything they've done anywhere they've done it? I know that's a question you didn't come here prepared to answer, but so that would be one that, that if their expert was here, or if he was here, I would ask that question. I don't recall it. I actually recall it got a little bit tricky when all of a sudden we got a handout that we had not seen before and that their expert hadn't seen and their lawyer hadn't seen, and that kind of all of a sudden threw a U-turn on some things. And there were some concerns in there, but it's like, gosh, if we start bringing in, publications from anywhere, and I don't know if that was where the groundwater issue came from. I don't remember because I don't think that groundwater was ever a concern, and certainly I don't think that, what's the concrete, or is that not Mockingbird?
Mockingbird.
Yeah, I've never heard anything about the groundwater issues with that one. And I'm not poo-pooing that. That's a serious thing if that's an issue. But I haven't heard that it's an issue. But, Member Nelson, and again, since it was your question, I'm sure it came to you stronger. But apparently Member Nelson asked some questions and couldn't get him to say that wasn't a problem. I don't recall that, but I'm sure that if she heard that, that's what it was.
And let me say the other option, by the way, that came out of his report, not the other people's report. The other option is talking to the guy who's in charge of recycling for Brevard County and seeing if he has an answer.
That would be a little problematic to ask another government agency to report on.
Report.
Yeah.
Well, could
But
he,
we can go-
could he report
we can go
on
one step,
what
that's
problems he's seeing,
We can visit the place.
if any?
That would still be problematic.
Okay.
But we can visit that site.
Certainly.
I think that's, outside of visiting the site where this is proposed, which was comforting to me, this hasn't just been an easy run-of-the-mill issue. This is a serious thing to all of us. So we took it to TEC, who again approved it with conditions. And then P&Z's approved it. We're the only ones who haven't approved it.
Right.
And we want to talk about leaning on our boards. Well, our boards have said, with some conditions, yeah, we can do this. And I feel like we need to lean on our boards for that and feel like we can do this. So that being said, good, I got some more. Are you back up?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, it's all right. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, You actually said the operative word. The TEC says, let's approve this with conditions, and those conditions are to ensure that the safety of
Absolutely.
everything. And so, and that's where I am with this thing. We can certainly bring them, they have to come back before us anyhow, right?
Yeah,
The applicant.
either way, if the consultant is approved with a report, that will become part of your public hearing again.
Right.
Should you not approve it, you're still going through the public hearing process.
Right. We had planning and zoning approval, we had TEC approve it, and then it came to us, and then we said stop. And I just think that with our knowledge now of who else has to get involved in this thing, to me, it's as safe as it's going to be. Now, of course, people are going to argue, say, well, you can't trust the state government either, you know, can't trust anybody, but that's not the way you run business for sure. These people have a lot of experts that are supposed to make things safe for all of us for sure. So I am comfortable. I do like the idea that, you know, Councilwoman Nelson, she had a question that wasn't answered. It needs to be answered for sure. And I would certainly suggest that you ask him to be ready to answer that question when he comes back before us.
Groundwater.
Groundwater, all about groundwater for sure. But I think I heard something about a borrow pit. They're actually going to have this in a borrow pit, right?
There's a borrow pit that's been right adjacent to that property, and if you don't, I think most of us know what a borrow pit is,
Yeah.
but if you've not seen, the magnitude of it's gigantic.
It's gigantic,
It's actually on the approach end of the runway there, and it's a very large operation.
Yeah, and we also have to remember this is a portable unit. This is not a permanent structure that's there. They actually were saying that they're going to be bringing it back and forth. I think one of the questions we did have was they're bringing this material and where they're going to put it, and what is this material clean, or is it, you know, is it dirty or whatever? And to me, the easier way to fix that, I don't know the procedure, but having some kind of lining or something where they put this stuff, you know. So.
When we investigated this with DEP to find out how this permitting process works, they will have to fall under their recycling, be considered to be a recycling facility, which is a different review, different use altogether by the state, if they include materials that are beyond concrete. If it's just concrete, as they proposed in the CUP to you, then it is primarily just a dust permit or an air permit with DEP only.
All right, so what is it? I think that
The actual agenda item is if you would like to approve the contract for consulting services to Barnes, Ferlin and Associates to conduct the, as for previously mentioned.
what I'm hearing is, and I'm saying is no, but what I'm hearing is if there is an abbreviated or a edited version that can simply deal with the groundwater with just his expertise, at the very least, that takes it down to 16,000, which I still don't really like. But, you know, I could easily vote no on that, but I think that if we have definitely done our due diligence.
Right.
Like I said, we sent a TEC, we never sent a TEC like that right in the middle of a meeting, and we did. And then between them approving it, P&Z approving it, and then us backing up saying, let's get another expert, and that didn't work out. I think that through our own research, and certainly mine going to where the plant's going to be, and then I'm going to go see how they do this deal. The only word I heard that concerns me, and I didn't really remember from last time, is groundwater.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we fix that without saying no.
Just want to remind you, but what was quoted today is $16,000 for a hydrology analysis and then $5,000 for stormwater. Those are two different types of analyses, is what was estimated to us.
So is that plus or is that separate?
That would be out of this. In other words, you wouldn't get the air study, you wouldn't get the other studies that are in here.
I
So
don't
if
think
you're-
we're looking for that. All we're looking for is the groundwater. If they would do that, that takes it down to 5,000.
If it's just groundwater, what we've estimated was he's given to us today is $16,000. That's an estimate.
Stormwater was 5 addition.
So,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm interrupting.
No,
But if their expert can answer these things, that's fine. Basically, I'm not sure I care who's answering it, as long as the answers are there.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, that was my point too. I think, and that's why I suggested to you, Brad, that you let them know that there's a question about the groundwater, and they can come back when they present it back to us and answer that question for us. 'Cause I think that's.
And the answer would have to be during the public
No, I
hearing
understand.
process.
That's
Yes, sir.
why
I just want to make sure that.
Yeah, he'd be prepared to answer that when he comes back.
If we can just get that answered and perhaps get the answer without the, full $16,000 study.
No, what I'm talking about is the guy who was expert
Right,
for
right.
the applicant,
Right.
not, so we don't need.
That's what
to
I'm saying.
spend
That's why I said I don't care where it comes from, but I'd
Yeah.
like to get away from doing a $16,000 study to
Yes.
say, hey, it's fine,
Right.
or to say it's not. I don't know. Member Robinson.
Yes, Brad, is that not for groundwater or ensuring that the water is always safe in the process, and when they get there, or tested by the state or the state follow-up, that they're following all of the requirements? Is not groundwater testing part of that process, or do you know?
I don't believe. So there were several conditions that were listed and talked about at the public hearings. If, even studies, regular reporting to the city of different types. So if that is something the city is concerned about, that's something probably could be asked as a condition. But I'm not aware of an agency that.
I'm just wondering, I know that the state is going to monitor this process in making sure that they adhere to all of the requirements. I could not see that one of those requirements would be that you can't contaminate the water beneath the ground.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't answer that question.
Okay.
I agree with the thought that even their expert, if he comes back and can answer that more clearly, because maybe it got lost in discussion, maybe got lost in some of the chaos that night. But that's the question we need answered. Member Nelson's question. I tend to think that we're ready to go. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, Member Robinson actually alluded to it, and I think it makes a lot of good sense. And Brad, you actually said it. Since this is a conditional use permit, then we can have that they, on a regular basis, analyze the groundwater underneath their thing, and then that would solve the problem for sure. So that can be part of the conditional use. Right.
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly how that would work,
Right.
but that is something that could be considered at your public hearing.
Right. Okay.
Well, it's okay, except we still got to decide if we're going to, I'm saying no to what they're there. Then are we ready to have well, no, we're not. We need to have cards. Call the cards, please.
Stan Johnston?
Stan Johnston. I think I asked myself, has I ever criticized council? Oh, that's a joke. Listen, I tell you what, I believe in this particular occasion, it's hard for you to believe, but I'm going to be sympathetic with you, and I think you've done the right thing. You've done the right thing to where you are. I really believe that, and because I was here when all this was happening, and so forth, and we had people come up here and say that they have all kinds of lung diseases and cancers and so forth like that, and then in the area, and their body can't tolerate it. So I'm sympathetic with where you are. I think you've done the right thing for where you are. And I believe you're doing the right thing right now as far as to consider this thing, whether either to table it or just refuse it, this contract. Right now, if you don't really realize it, but with it's this Barnes-Furlan contract thing that a number of people in our community don't like their guts. I mean, they're the ones same ones who did the Brookshire. You realize that? Brookshire. They're the same group of organization who's been saying how wonderful our water supply over there is from the well field over there at Indian River City Church over there. Same group, same people that we've thrown thousands and thousands of dollars to. It seems like we got nothing. So this may be the wrong group to do it with. And the second thing that I'd like you to think about is that there are many experts that should be able to just give you a right off the cuff about what's going on, because they've had experience with it. This is an old-time thing. Fact is, we had as my understanding is we had one here in the city of Titusville, right there next to our garage. That they operated for some time. We did it. The city of Titusville did it. Now, so I'm suggesting to you, I'd like you to consider as a possibility of some of you, one or two or whatever it's council members, just go and visit one of the places, and then you contact the people who were very much objection to it, who are concerned about their health, is to talk to them saying, listen, why don't you come and visit it? I visited it, and here's what I come up with. I say that because I think that I'm sympathetic with what's going on, and I'm sympathetic with the people whose health has been compromised. But I don't think that bringing Barnes-Furlan is going to satisfy them. I don't think it's going to do it. You're still going to have the same situations you had. So I think you ought to look at other options and either what do you call it? Table this or just don't do the $40,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other cards?
One more, McGregor Love.
Good evening.
Good evening.
McGregor Love, 215 North Eola Drive, here from Lowndes Law. I think that you probably remember my colleague Tara Tedrow from a particularly long night back in June. I was not present at that meeting, but I did review the minutes and saw when it adjourned. So I take it that you were all here trying to work through this issue. And I was listening to your discussion and your comment, Councilman Nelson. I specifically wrote it down because I want to make sure that at the next hearing, when our expert is here again, and we've all had time to think about, the issues that are of concern to this council, that he's prepared to answer those questions, specifically related to groundwater, and also, Mayor, related to the track record of the company as it relates to incidents. So I've taken note of those. Please feel free to let your staff know if you think of any additional questions. We'll make sure we're ready to answer those. But I think you've identified what the benefit to sort of cross-examining our expert is, because his time, in addition to my time, is paid for by the applicant and not by the taxpayers. And we'll be here at the next hearing to answer those questions. Thank you.
Any other cards? All right, so we need a motion on this?
It could be a motion to not accept.
Yeah, that's what we have to have a motion.
Then that's going to be my motion, to not accept the proposed scope of work from Barnes, Furlan and Associates.
I have a motion to not accept.
Second.
I have a second from Member Nelson. Roll call vote.
Member Nelson? Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. City Manager.
On to consent agenda items. City Council, are there any questions that you may have on the consent agenda items A through L minus I?
1 second. Let me look at mine.
I was my main question. I'm good. Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay. Council, are there any items that you'd like to pull for further discussion?
Council, any items to pull? I see a light. Member Robinson, are you going to?
No.
Okay. I see none.
Clerk, are there any cards for any of the consent agenda items A through L minus I?
Yes, sir. One individual on 9 items.
What?
Mayor and Council, with your permission, I'd like to read the titles for the record.
Thank you.
Consent agenda item 8A, approve the award of the Blue Heron Wetland Consulting Contract. Consent agenda item 8B, approve the emergency purchase of the replacement reclaim valve assembly for the Blue Heron Water Reclamation Facility. Consent agenda item 8C, authorize the renewal of the Communication Services Tax Agreement. Consent agenda item 8D, approve permission to issue purchase orders for the FY 2023 approved vendors of record list. Consent agenda item 8E, approve the renewal of the medical expense stop loss insurance renewal with Symetra for coverage period beginning October 1, 2022 through September 30th, 2023. Consent agenda item 8F, approve the contract to Kendall Signs Incorporated for the replacement of the LED monument sign at City Hall. Consent agenda item 8G, approve the renewal of all lines of insurance coverage. Consent agenda item 8H, approve contract for Amendment 1, security guard services for the City of Titusville City Hall Annex, Records Building, and Harry T. Moore Center. And that would be 2 more. Consent agenda item 8J, approve the work order number 7 for annual stormwater piping installation with using ARPA funds. Consent agenda item 8K, approve the purchase of replacement vehicles for Water Resources Department. And consent agenda item 8L, approve the award for the work order for engineering services for the screen replacement at the Blue Heron Water Reclamation Facility.
Thank you, City Manager. I see no lights lit on that, so lit on that. Try that again. Cards, please.
Stan Johnston.
No, we're gonna get a whole sign today. Go ahead. I think when he starts walking up here, you start the clock. There we go.
There's a few items that I'm having some objection to, and I want to do it in two different ways, two ways, and one is to cover all of them items with something, and then I got some specific items on specific ones. Overall, I'm looking at a special problem that is highlighting horrible problems in the city of Titusville. And this is a horrible item that I've been involved in, and I've made signs about it, and this is one of the signs. This is one of the signs that talks about the fake survey, big arrow, tree survey, legitimate tree survey, two-way traffic, violations of Florida statutes, no public utilities, 10-foot access for R3 lots, all kinds of things. The city of Titusville is mishandling this horribly. And what's going on is the city that I and a number of people have been contacting because it's so difficult. We've contacted the office of city manager, and I've been there when phone calls have been made. Nothing happens. In other words, this is the guy we're talking about. We're calling the city manager, and he does nothing. And what we have is we have a survey. We have a survey that disagrees with city's survey, big time. For example, it shows the survey for this particular project known as a 3-acre project known as S.J. Oaks. It shows the right-of-way for Elizabeth Avenue as being 53 feet wide.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead.
I do not know where he is. Which
Okay, I'm
item are you
talking about all of them. This is the one, all of them, first of all.
But you're
In
talking
other words,
about-
I'm showing you. Yes, go.
You're talking about a
Okay, please
project
stop
that's
it.
not on the
Stop
agenda.
clock, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, yes, sir.
You're talking about a project that's not on the agenda.
No, sir.
Elizabeth, it wasn't Elizabeth?
No, the agenda item is what I'm talking about, is the city of Titusville, what I'm gonna say, is messing up so bad. It's messing up so bad is that I'm giving you an example of the mess up is so bad, it doesn't make any sense at all.
But you need, if you're gonna have an example, it has to be on here, on the consent agenda. And you've done that before, and that's fine.
In other words,
Find a
what I'm
consent
talking about is
agenda
the
item.
city manager who's showing that him and his staff has just stopped things completely so bad.
But you're still not talking about a consent agenda item.
Oh, yes, I am. I'm
Well,
talking about
what
all-
one? What number is it? Talk about a number, talk about a thing, start the clock.
All right, okay, thank you.
That's all I ever ask you to do
Okay,
on consent
we'll talk
agenda.
about,
Give me a name and a number.
All right, ready? 8A, 8B, 8C, 8D, 8E, 8G, 8H.
And then pick one and talk about it.
Oh, I can't believe it.
All right. I can
Pick one and talk. And you,
8K and 8L.
all right,
All right, like for example, let's take 8K and 8L.
8K and 8L.
Okay. What I'm looking at is that I asked the question is can the city of Titusville make a responsible decision on these items? Can they do it? Because what I have seen is unbelievable. In other words, the city of Titusville has information that it's wrong on this on a project, completely wrong. And the city of Titusville completely ignores it, ignores the truth. I'm looking for the truth. In other words, I was talking to you about, and this is current right now. This is not something that didn't happen yesterday. It's happening right now. If the city of Titusville has received a survey that shows the right-of-way width for Elizabeth Avenue being 53 feet wide, I know that it's 50 feet. In fact, the city of Titusville bought 20 feet from me to make it 50 feet. Personally, I know it's wrong. And yet the city of Titusville has accepted the survey. This is completely disturbing to me. I can't believe that this is happening right here to me and so many people in the city of Titusville. And it affects a lot of people, big time. I want you to listen to this, big time, because this survey has a preliminary plat for 28 lots. All of these lots are wrong.
Stop the clock.
Yes,
Which one talks about the survey?
Beg your pardon?
Which one of these? I'm trying to follow you.
Both of these. In other words, the city of Titusville is making such huge errors.
There's nothing on here about plaid. Give me a letter and start talking about it. Start the clock. Any letter. Pick a letter.
Okay. Please understand is that the decisions that the city of Titusville has made the city is going to Titusville with Mr. is going to make a decision on these two things. And
right.
You're going to make a decision based upon what is said here. And the thing is, what I'm saying is the city of Titusville is so backward and so dishonest and making violation of so many laws and common sense that I question, you should need to know is question whether this even should even be made. I'm questioning it because it's a big time. In other words, and I'm telling you specifically, I'm looking at this, the angle, measurements and everything else, everything's wrong, yet the city of Titusville is accepting it. And what happens is when I call, when I send emails, when I come to public presentations, I get nothing from this guy. And he's the boss man. And it's a big issue. And I'm telling you, in this townhouse project, I want you to listen very carefully. It's got 28 townhouses. Each one of those lots is wrong. Every one of them. And I can prove it easily. And is anybody listening? I'm a surveyor. I know it's wrong. I own the property. And yet, it's being accepted by the city. I sent you emails on this. You're not responding. He's not responding. I can't believe it. How in the world can we have a survey that the city knows is wrong? It disagrees with all the surveys that the city has done. It disagrees with angles. It disagrees with dimensions. I'm telling you is that I cannot draw this survey. I'm a surveyor. You give the information to draw it, I can't draw it. It doesn't fit. You cannot put a round hole in a square. You cannot put a round peg in a square hole. You can do it, but it doesn't look right. It doesn't fit. And that's what we have here. It doesn't fit. This survey cannot be drawn. This survey cannot be laid out. What I'm saying is that when the contractor goes out to lay these lots or to lay any of the improvements, it doesn't fit. I'm saying that from experience as a surveyor. You cannot do this survey, yet the city of Titusville approves it, continues to approve it, and it's been going on how long? Months and months and months, over 6 months. I've been complaining about this. And none of that is that I'm there when people are making phone calls. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. Phone calls go into the city manager's office. Nothing is satisfied. I can't believe this. So what I'm saying to you, in the case of these two items, actually all these items, is What in the world is the city of Titusville doing? I can't get an answer. This is a serious matter. It affects many people. All these people that are working on this project, it affects the city. They're not doing anything. So let me change subjects. Let's go to something else. Let's go to, so I'm asking you to do something about it. In other words, look into what he's doing. And I know you didn't appreciate when I said these three monkeys with deaf, blind, and what is it? Deaf, blind, and something else. Deaf, blind, and dumb. That's it. Dumb. Is that the city of Titusville is not responding? And the thing is, if I want to listen carefully, is that that's the same thing that happened. The city of Titusville responded the same way when people complained that to ask the city to turn the fountains off. Nobody listened. And they didn't get turned off. The same thing happened with the consent order. In other words, the city of Titusville approved that consent order that sewage stopped to the river December the 19th. Yet we know all these witnesses that says it didn't happen. We have all these tests that shows it didn't happen. The same thing happening. We have a shut system, a closed doors. We have closed doors to the city manager's office, which closes us to many things for solving. He gets paid over $160,000 a year to do nothing. Okay, let's go to something else. Let's go to 8A and 8B. That has to do with somebody else who's well, let me show you. You've seen this? You've seen this has to do with the sewage spill and spraying people with sewage. You've seen this? That has to do with water resources. What I'm talking about. In other words, these items I just mentioned has to do with water resources. 176 parts per trillion. I mentioned that's the PFAS that was reported by our national news network, Guardian News Network, PFAS in the city of Titusville. In his report, Mr. Stauffer, Director of Water Resources, reported nothing about it, nothing at all. And when's the testing going to be done? Nobody knows. But it's not a problem, he says. It's not a problem. And by the way, what we had is just recently we had somebody pay, and they had their own personal water tested. I believe it's in Imperial Estates, and it comes out positive with PFAS.
Thank you.
Is my time up?
Yeah, your time's up, but I'm going to ask you one question. Of that 10 minutes, how many of the consent items A through K or L did you talk about?
Well, if you want to.
No. I'm just going to ask you, how many did you talk? Because I normally cross them off when you go, so you never even called the letter out today.
I did at least 4. Okay.
We'll check the video on that instant replay.
Pardon?
We'll check the video. All right, have a good day.
Please check the video. Please check the video.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve consent agenda items 8A through 8H and 8J through 8L.
Well spoken.
Second.
We have the motion from Vice Mayor, second from Member Nelson. Roll call vote.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Consent agenda passes unanimously. City Manager.
On to item 9A, which is ordinance number, hang on. We want to do a quick change.
Sorry, Mayor. If I could, I'd like to move an item under my report up to now.
Sure.
That is item 10A, settlement of pending claim. Our defense counsel is here, and I was trying to get him out
Sure,
in
go
a
ahead.
timely fashion.
Vice Mayor,
So
we're going to make a motion here.
I'm making a motion to move it right now.
Second it.
The attorney's report to right now.
A motion from Vice Mayor, a second from Member Nelson. All those in favor say yes. Opposed? Carries. City Attorney.
yes, sir, this is requesting your authorization to approve settlement of a claim in Gardner versus City of Titusville. and authorize defense counsel, city manager, or designee to execute the necessary settlement documents. This is a personal injury claim arising out of injury sustained due to a deficient sidewalk. Our defense counsel, who's here, Mr. Josh Walker, has recommended that he has negotiated a settlement for $50,000, which he believes to be in the city's best interest to settle. And he's certainly here to answer any questions you have.
Counsel, do you have any questions? I don't either. It's certainly out of my realm, but I do know that I would take him as an expert witness, no pun intended. So that being said, that, not to get out in front of it, but through discussion with you guys, I think, not you guys, I think that it's the appropriate way to go at this time. Counsel, any comments or questions? With that, do we go to a motion?
We have
Clear.
a card.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Stan Johnston.
Absolutely.
Yeah, be sure to check those, how many numbers I did last
Yes,
time.
sir.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
Be sure to do that. Okay, I'm Stan Johnson, same address I've reported to you before. And I really don't have a lot to say about it, but I had a speaking card on it. So thank you for recognizing my card.
Mayor, if I could ask whether our council is there any specific approval you need other than for settling this case amount of $50,000 and executing the appropriate documents?
No, there's nothing else.
Okay, and he is here to answer any questions.
I would come forward if you would. And, and again, very clear, as I stated, I'm not the expert on this, but the thing I do like to know, and I think I know the answer to this, once this is settled, that's the end of it. There's no coming back to it.
That's true. We will have a release with a full dismissal of all claims. This is pre-suit as well, so there won't be any ancillary paperwork. Sometimes you have to get that filed with the court, but this is a pre-suit settlement. So once the release is finalized, the claim will be over.
Okay, and I could go and ask a couple of questions, and I don't think necessarily we want to talk about. So that being said, Vice Mayor?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve settlement of pending claim in the amount of $50,000.
What was that, 50?
$50,000.
Thank you.
Second.
I've got a motion from Vice Mayor, a second from Member Nelson. Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
Member Stokel.
Yes.
Member Robinson.
Yes.
Member Nelson.
Yes.
Mayor Diesel.
Yes, passes unanimously. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you. City Attorney.
Okay, Mayor, back to ordinance. We are on agenda item 9A, which is ordinance number 30-2022, relating to building trade services. City Attorney will read the ordinance for the record, and this is the second reading and the public hearing for this ordinance.
Yes, sir. Ordinance number 30-2022, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, to allow building trade services as limited uses in the community commercial CC and planned industrial development PID zoning districts, and amending the conditions for building trades in the urban mixed-use UMU zoning district by amending sections 28-54 use table and 28-203 building trade services, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, an effective date, and incorporation into the code.
The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this ordinance at their meeting on 17 August 2022 and recommended approval 7-0. Staff has identified a long-standing issue of approving BTRs for general contractors within the city. Based on these concerns, City Council approved advisability for staff to review and make recommendations regarding the expansion of the building trade services into the planned industrial zoning districts. Ms. Pusaka is not here to answer any of your questions, but Mr. Parish is.
All right. I don't have any questions, but I liked it when I first heard it. As somebody who was over the CTE department at Titusville High School for a decade, I really like to see this sort of involvement and movement. I like this very, very much. Any other council members? No questions. I see none. Vice Mayor? Oh, cards? Do I have a card on this?
Stan Johnston.
You like this one too, don't you? I remember. All right, Vice Mayor?
Mayor and Council, I move that we approve ordinance number 30-2022 relating to building trade services.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Jordan. I have a second by Member Nelson. Roll call vote.
Member Stokel.
Yes.
Member Robinson.
Yes.
Member Nelson. Mayor Diesel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. I'm very happy about that.
On to item 10A, which is ordinance number 36, 2022. It's a first reading for modifications to section 21-1B to add criteria to connect to the city's utility services. City Attorney will read the first reading.
Ordinance number 36, 2022, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, revising, modifying, and amending Chapter 21, 1B of the Code of Ordinances by amending the requirements for water or sewer service to non-contiguous properties within the city's service area, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, an effective date, and incorporation into the code.
This is the first reading. The public hearing is scheduled for your regular City Council meeting on 27 September 2022 at 6:30. No actions required.
Vice Mayor? Member Robinson?
Yes, I have no, I understood it was explained well. And if I had anything to say, I would, if it's appropriate time and place, we'll make a motion to, it's just the first reading. All we wanted to do is just hear about it. And they did a great job in explaining it to me.
Yes, I agree. Cards, please.
Stan Johnston,
Stan Johnson, you've got my address.
Yes, we do.
You think I have nothing to say about it, but by golly, I do. Because when we bring all these people in here, other people on here, do they really know what they're getting? And do we really know what we're giving them? And I say that, I don't say it just casually, but for example, is what we have is we have a water distribution system that is called it's on a 4-log virus, which when we had the explanation by Mr. Our Director of Water Resources, he said, what did he say about that? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. In other words, he completely missed it in his what it was a 15-minute report or something. And so I called FDEP and I said, hey, what's going on? And I got a completely different report from FDEP. So then he did a second. And he finally recognized this thing. And it appears to me, let me describe it to you. I'm not saying I'm right, but it appears to me is that we have these citywide bulk water alerts. And they're done sometimes maybe, in other words, the alert can come out maybe several days after the water has been tested. In other words, the test takes several days to do it, this coliform test. So in other words, if and when the people get the boiled water alert, it's already too late. It's too late. Tell people it's already too late. We gave it to you late. If you didn't get it, you still didn't. It's too late. I don't understand how in the world that we do this. And do you remember what Mr. Stauffer said in his last report, what he said what we're going to do? I'll tell you what I do. I don't think I should tell you because you don't remember. Maybe you weren't even listening. We don't have a solution to this right now, is what he said. We're going to look into it. And that was how long ago? Huh? You know how many years has this has been going on? Many years. I didn't know a thing about it. So let me say it again. Is that we had a boiled water alert last year, and we had restaurants. One restaurant lost over $30,000. And we don't even have a proposed solution. So in other words, if one of these new customers going to be a restaurant, we should let them know what's going on. All right? Really think about it, what's going on, because the City of Water, what they're doing, the City Water or Water Resources Department stinks. As headed by our Director of Water Resources, Sean Stauffer. He's not giving you the full truth about what's going on. I'm shocked, and you should be shocked too. Thank you.
Any other cards? Okay. First reading. City Manager.
On to item 12A, which is Resolution 17, 2022, which is a canvassing of returns from the primary election held on 23 August 2022. Staff's recommendation is that you approve Resolution 17, 2022, canvassing the returns of the primary election held on 23 August 2022 for City Council seats 1, 3, and 5.
Council, any questions, anything? No? Cards?
Stan Johnston.
Stan Johnson, I think this is just a matter of approving that the elections were not rigged this time. I don't have any words from Trump or anybody else about what's going on. I haven't heard anything, so it looks pretty safe. Thank you. What do you think,
sir.
Joe?
Any other cards? Okay, Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve Resolution Number 17, 2022, canvassing the returns of the primary election held on August 23rd, 2022 for the City Council seats 1, 3, and 5.
Second.
Vice Mayor has a motion, and Member Nelson has a second. Roll call vote.
Member Robinson.
Yes.
Member Nelson.
Yes.
Mayor Diesel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
Member Stokel.
Yes.
Results are approved unanimously. City Manager.
On to item 12B, which is the memorandum of understanding for the Titusville Area Chamber of Commerce to continue to operate a fall fall 2022 Farmers Token Market Program and set the location to hold the market and approve the associated budget amendment. Staff recommends that City Council approve the MOU for the Titusville Area Chamber of Commerce to continue to operate the Fall 2022 Farmers Market Token Program to be funded by the American Rescue Act Plan. City Council has recommended the location to remain at its current location with the option to find an additional weekday and approve the associated budget amendment.
Yeah, I think the CRA did a good job of making it clear that it's best to be where it is, not spend money that we need to spend on our citizens doing something else. And I also think that we're looking to be able to move it to a Thursday if possible. We understand that the business owners have some difficulty. But that being said, I think that I don't see any lights, so I think we're all on the same page there. So cards, please. Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve the MOU as provided.
Does that include the search to possibly move to Thursday?
Yep.
And the budget
Okay.
amendment.
And I do need a budget amendment.
Yeah, I think we did that with the CRA.
We did.
Okay.
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 Second.
Got the motion from Vice Mayor Jordan, second from Member Nelson. Roll call vote.
Member Nelson.
Yes.
Mayor Diesel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
Member Stokel.
Yes.
Member Robinson.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Outstanding program. I guess sometimes you have a program like that, it's just difficult to find the proper spot. But I like where it's at. I just wish we could move it to Thursday. Petitions and requests take two. Mr. Nathan? We have none. We move to mayor and council reports. I'll be very brief. I got a thing or two to say. One is, I was very honored to speak at the 9/11 ceremony. What do you call it? Blue and the blue mass. Got to speak and present some mayor proclamations to the fire chief and the police chief. Member Nelson did a Bible verse reading. Member Robinson, did you speak before I got there?
No, I was the clerk.
Okay, and because last year you spoke. You spoke, so I was very proud that we were there. I would also like to say that I'd like to see a bigger turnout every year. Certainly our first responders were very appreciative. And certainly it's about the victims and the first responders. And it was a very nicely done thing. And you can tell the city of Titusville, as I've said in my words, we must never forget and we should always remember. And I think we're on top of that. So I just want to kind of give a comment about that and appreciate that very much. And I guess I want to go last time. Did I go that way last time? I'm going to remember Robinson.
Yes, and I did not speak at that, but I heard both member Jolene's presentation and the mayor. I thought he did a wonderful job in doing the presentation, and I enjoy that, and it's very special to me to be there, and I get a call. I got a call to ask to come to be there, and to just be in the presence, and that was good. Also, in the rocket to the moon, I was involved with a couple of activity. I ran into Member Nelson.
We got moon pies.
We got moon pies.
Out at Cape Canaveral, and we sat and broke bread together, and that was good. And I also went and took a tour. What is it? Perspective, space perspective.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fascinating, and it was good. Yeah. And so I've been kind of busy, getting out, looking at things in space, and it's been good over the last couple of weeks. A couple of things, more things are coming up here in the future. It's a lot of things. We're going into that season, so I'm sure we'll run into each other at a number of places representing the city.
Member Nelson, thank you, sir.
The mass was cool. I really loved my reading. I loved that reading. So, but I wanted to say next Saturday, Keep Brevard Beautiful will be up here. We are working on a cleanup. This is the first time that we have had places in the city that we are actually working on.
Time,
8 o'clock.
various places.
We're at Sandpoint. Your Rotary Club people are at Sandpoint. Mr. Ruiz's Rotary Club people, I think, are at Rotary Park. There is also a couple of places that the Wildlife Refuge, they're taking people out there, and there's 2 or 3 places out there. So it looks like we have about 100 people. They're coming out to clean up the city.
So they give you bags and stuff?
Mm-hmm. Got the bags, got the trash bags, got the little buckets, got the grabbers. So if anybody's interested, go to the Keep Brevard Beautiful website, and you can sign up, and you can pick your location. There is a beer vendor that has a site on Cocoa Beach. We don't have beer, so we're out of luck. I did hear from Habitat for Humanities. They are talking about coming up and talking to us next week. Yeah, so hopefully they're headed this way. And I talked to Laura Lee Thompson this week because she broke her foot. And so she's hobbling around in her boots still. And she had gone out to Mosquito Lagoon and Hollover Canal. She said there is grass growing out there, and there are close to 900 manatees.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, we talk about the lagoon and how we're slowly getting that back. And when she tells me there's seagrass in Hollover Canal, I'm like,
that's step one.
That's step one. So I had to tell you guys.
That's awesome. I'm glad you hit us with that. Before I go on, I was remiss in that I needed to say thank you to St. Teresa's Catholic Church for hosting the Blue Mass. I don't know how long it's been going on, but the last 2 years I've been there as a mayor, they have hosted it, and they have been fantastic. And I believe that our flag and who puts that together?
Flag Memorial Committee.
And I want to say that the Flag Memorial Committee, and who heads that up? Al.
I can never pronounce the last
Al.
name.
So we'll just go with Al. Al, if you're watching and you're not in bed, well done. That was very well done, and thank you to St. Teresa's Catholic Church. Go. Thank you, sir. Member Stokel. I'm good. Ho-ho! City Manager.
At your 23 August meeting, there was a discussion about moving the Tuesday meeting of your regular city council member meeting from the 8th, which is the election night, to the following Wednesday, which is the 9th at the same time. So in order to do that, we will need you to approve that.
Yeah, we need a motion to do that. I think we agreed last time that we do not want to, I brought it up actually, and I didn't realize we were going to have another one that quickly. But this is even the bigger one, so I sure don't think it's proper for us to come here and meet while we're electing our government. So with that, do we have a card?
Yes, sir. Stan Johnston.
Not a surprise. Stan Johnston, and I think you can proceed. Thank you.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I think you can go ahead and proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we reschedule the regular city council meeting from November 8th to November 9th.
Same time.
Same time.
Second.
I have a motion from Vice Mayor, a second from Member Nelson. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Motion passes. City Attorney.
Sir, we handled item 10A, so at this point, I'd like to go to item 10B, which is designation of special magistrate pursuant to Florida statutes 70.51. If you recall, property owners with regard to small-scale Amendment 1, 2021, had filed a request for relief, asking for informal mediation with regard to denial of that small-scale amendment. Part of that process requires that we agree upon a mediator to handle the informal mediation. I just passed out a retainer agreement from Mr. Dan Mantzaris with DSK Law. We have agreed on Mr. Mantzaris to serve as the mediator in this case, and I'm asking council to approve Mr. Mantzaris as the mediator.
Call card.
I wasn't done yet. All right, so with this, what is expected of us in regards to this?
With regards to this, just to approve him as the mediator and authorize Mr. Parish to attend the mediation with me, at which point you're authorizing Mr. Parish as the person with authority to recommend a solution at mediation and to bring back recommendations for solutions to council for your consideration.
Okay, so that would ultimately be the long motion and vote.
Yes, sir. It's the last sentence in my report in the third paragraph.
I will, but I still don't mind us talking first. Member Stokel?
And just to clarify, the cost for this is $200 per hour, which the city has to pay half of that, and then the other party would pay the other half. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And we have to do this per?
Florida statutes.
Gotcha.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, call the cards, please.
Stan Johnston.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve Mr. Dan Mantzaris
Sure.
as a special magistrate and also appoint Mr. Parish as our representative. Is that all you need?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's my motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Vice Mayor Jordan. I have a second from Member Nelson. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
You know what? I'm gonna change that. Let's roll call vote that one, please.
Mayor Diesel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
Member Stokel.
Yes.
Member Robinson.
Yes.
Member Nelson.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We good down there? Go ahead.
And last is, tomorrow will be your
What's
first.
tomorrow?
I had one more.
Tomorrow's Wednesday.
Oh.
We don't meet on Wednesdays.
Yeah, we are.
5:30.
Mayor, I did have one more item.
Okay, go ahead.
Just informational, updating on the right to clean water case.
Hmm?
I just wanted to provide you that the Speak Up Titusville did file answers and affirmative defenses, and we filed our reply to that. And I was going to hand you copies of that, so you would be up to date on what's happening in that case.
Okay.
Do we have a timeline when the judge is going to listen to us?
No, sir.
Okay.
Oh, it'll be long after the vote, I bet.
We got November. It's good time, I guess.
Do I need to wait for him to hand me these before I can say we're done? All right.
Mayor, if I also could,
See, I knew it. I told you. I did well. I held it. Come on, city.
I just I need to confirm pursuant to the report designating the magistrate, as was brought up by Member Stokel, we have to share the cost of that magistrate.
Yeah?
So as part of your approval, it's listed in here that the funds for the magistrate will come out of account numbers 001-1905, 531.3101, and that is the professional services account in the planning department. So as part of your approval is also to approve designating $5,000 out of that professional services fund to be used to pay for the magistrate's services. Yes, sir.
See, we almost got it here. We messed up. We have to start over. All right, Vice
I have
Mayor?
to make the most of my opportunities.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Hey, can you get another card in there on that? Thank you. All right, Vice Mayor?
So we're authorizing $5,000?
Right out of the account number stated in your report, which is, I believe, the professional services account in the planning department.
That's what I'm.
As spoken. I got a motion from Vice Mayor, a second from Member Nelson. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no. Passes. All right, everybody done? Officer Josh, you have anything you want to add? Anything? Officer Jackson, Officer Taylor, anything? Yeah. With that, thank you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Meeting adjourned.